The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. This
Hey.
is exciting.
This is exciting.
In studio, Brian Austin Green.
Yeah.
What's
and
happening?
Last minute, by the way, too.
Last minute, but we
Yeah.
knew it was going to happen at some point.
I knew it was going to happen at some point. I just didn't know 2 hours ago when I talked to Mike
Right.
that it would happen today.
Well, I was worried about your emotional state because we're taping this right after.
Come on, man.
Right after the Lakers shamed the NBA.
Jeez.
A lot of people, I'm not sure people know you're a diehard Laker fan going back
I'm
to.
a diehard Laker fan. I'm from Los Angeles. I don't know how you can be born and raised in Los Angeles and be anything other than a diehard Laker fan. I didn't.
That's
grow
a
up,
shot at the Clipper fans, is what that was.
I didn't. It might be. It might be. Sure. Yeah. There's salt in that wound, man. I gotta say, like the biggest rivalry for me now are Laker Clipper games. I mean, those are the ones that drive me insane. And
Yes.
You know, I wish injuries sometimes on guys, just because I don't. I was. Let me put it this way. Last season, I was upset that we didn't go any further through playoffs and get to finals, but I was so happy that we won one more than you guys.
Yeah, no.
That we weren't
It's
swept
not a you guys.
in that
I'm just a
round.
season ticket holder.
No. But it is a you guys.
Well, I hate the Lakers, so I'm team
I
Clippers.
know you
I'm
most
pro
likely
Clippers.
have Clipper underwear on right now or have had them on this week. So, if we're honest about this, you're a big Clipper fan. You've had Clipper seats for how long?
This will be my 9th year.
Your 9th year.
I'm a
And-
Clippers season ticket holder. I'm a Celtics fan. I was also licking my wounds yesterday because Miami beat the crap out of the
Yes.
Celtics.
Now, see, I'm a huge
That made me
Celtics
nervous.
fan also, though.
Oh.
I love the Celtics. I mean, I grew up with the rivalry of the Lakers-Celtics, and
How do you like the Celtics if you're a Laker fan? I'm confused.
here's the difference. I've been to Boston, and I know how you guys hold anger with sports.
Right.
It's the same thing with the Yankees and the Red Sox. I went to a game one time wearing a Yankee hat because my dad has been a Yankee fan since I was born, and I feared for my life. It was real.
You wore a
guys
Yankee hat in Fenway?
I did.
That was a mistake.
But what am I supposed to do? I don't.
Not wear a Yankee
It's just
hat.
a game. See,
Yeah.
I live on. So I go by. Love the game. I love the game first, and I love my team
But
second.
you've lived in Southern California your whole life. You don't. The cold weather cities are not rational about sports.
I know it's all you guys
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
I get it. So in Boston, you guys absolutely hate us.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, those were some of the greatest games we will ever be able to say we watched.
Sure. I agree
Larry
with you.
Bird in his prime and Magic, that was the greatest rivalry ever. I mean, they're making plays about it, you know? So
Lakers Clippers is much more underrated than you think it is in the stands. Like the Clipper fans, it's definitely like a big brother, little brother thing. The Clipper
yeah.
fans are like the little brother who they really resent the big brother.
Well, I think at
have
one
a
point the
complex.
Clippers were the lowest money-making team in sports, weren't
Yeah.
they? Like,
It wasn't good.
I think Little League teams were making a little more money selling jerseys than Clippers were.
Right. It wasn't
So,
good.
I mean, you know, and here's the way I look at it, being from Los Angeles. If all I had were the Clippers to rely on, we wouldn't have basketball in this city either. You know, I mean, I grew up with no football really. I mean, we had the LA Express
that
for a little
bizarre?
while and the Rams for a little while, but
Yeah.
we've had hockey longer than we've had football here, and I don't really go to hockey games. I'm a basketball guy.
Right. So.
Plus, it's the only sport of those that I can play a little bit.
Oh.
So I feel like I have more of a connection. You know, I'm watching guys play, and I know the sport really well. So
Did you ever do the Celebrity League?
I
circuit
did. I did
thing?
the Entertainment League.
Really?
I did that for 2 years.
What years? Are you talking like early 30s, late 20s?
That was mid 90s.
Oh, so your
that I did
20s.
That was my 20s.
Who was the best?
Ice Cube was pretty good.
Ice Cube.
Yeah. I had Coolio on my team one time too, and he was the
Hold
tough
on.
thing. No, I know.
So it's you, Coolio. Who else is on this team?
God, I think this was I was Sacramento. It was the Kings that year. Timberlake, Coolio, Ice Cube.
You had Timberlake or Timberlake?
Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake, yeah.
You know my
man.
theory on Justin Timberlake.
I don't know.
He stole his entire career from David Silver in
He might
90210.
have.
He really might. I really think
might
he
have.
studied
I'll give
all
you
the
that.
David Silver. and
I
was
gotta
like,
say,
how do I translate
there
this?
have been times where I've been chased through hotels by people all the way to an elevator that jump in thinking that I'm Justin Timberlake. I mean,
Really?
this was maybe 7 years ago, but yeah, with my wife, who was then my girlfriend, and crazy. I don't know if
You guys don't even look alike.
when we wear similar things. I don't know what it is, but
So what were you, like a shooting guard? Small forward?
it's a small forward.
Small forward. What was Coolio?
I don't remember. I played literally like 5 minutes the entire season. It was one of those
Oh,
like
you rode the bench.
I rode the bench. It was if you weren't playing up to par with everybody else. I honestly the thing I loved the most about the Entertainment League was practice days. We'd practice on Wednesdays, and that was great because you got in tons of playing time, and it was like Nick Lachey and all these guys that were just out there to have fun. And then you get in the real games with like Coolio and Ice Cube, and you're on the bench.
Wow.
You
Ice
go out and
Cube.
literally touch the ball, and the whistle blows, and they're pulling you out. And
Who was like coaching?
I don't remember. It was too long ago.
God, I mean, they kept this so secret. It was like there was no
Yeah.
information about
Well, no,
this
we
at all.
played
It
it
was
like
very
Crossroads. I
underground.
mean,
Yeah.
it was really small.
Yeah.
But we had the coolest thing about it was the uniforms. We had full head to toe. You had to wear the socks, that you couldn't wear any of your own stuff. It all had to be complete team.
Really?
Socks, sweatbands, everything.
Man, if they could put some of that on YouTube. I'd like to see vintage Coolio breaking down Ice Cube. It'd be phenomenal.
I would say the same thing, except my luck would be just like shots of him breaking me down constantly.
You getting your ankles broken?
Yeah, and me being on the same team, and he literally,
So are you
shaking me.
worried? Are you worried about the Lakers, or do you subscribe to the whole 20 games it's going to take for everybody to feel each other out theory?
I subscribe to that every season.
Oh.
When was the last time we had like a real strong start? I mean, that's not really the Lakers' MO. We don't have strong starts. We kind of slide into it a little bit, figure out our way, and then somehow pick it up mid-season through. I mean, last season, there was a point there where I thought we weren't even going to be in the top 8 and go into playoffs.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, other teams started slipping, and at the point when we were head-to-head with the Clippers and then we passed them, I remember thinking, I didn't see this coming. This is great. I think if you go, as a Laker fan, if you kind of go into the seasons not expecting much, then you're not disappointed.
They were one of the picks to win the championship.
I know. Well,
I would say the expectations are high.
But see, I think that's why Boston fans get so pissed off about their teams, because they go in with their expectations high every season, and then they're let down.
Well,
Whereas I go just to watch good games. I go, okay, I can't wait to see. I mean, my theory is at the point when Kobe and Steve Nash and Dwight Howard really gel and they start making sense of what their positions are, there really shouldn't be any reason for them to not be scoring every time they have a possession. I mean, they've got the guys to do it, but if they're not communicating and they're not working it out and playing well as a cohesive team instead of playing as just single guys that do what they do, it's not going to happen.
I was not too encouraged by what I saw from Dwight yesterday because we
neither
were
was
led to
I.
believe his back was 100%. It's definitely not. Like even the way he falls, you can tell he's not confident yet.
Yeah, I know.
So it's going to take a while. But
It might or not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
you're nervous. That's right. You can talk about it. It's
I
okay.
am
You're a little
nervous. It's okay.
Plus,
I
Oklahoma
am
City
nervous.
threw you a big bone. They traded James Harden.
Which I don't get.
You get if you want to make money, you do that.
But
trade.
that seems like for OKC to lose him, that was their run. They had their 3 strong guys. I mean, what do they do now? He was 6 man.
Can I add you to the list of Laker fans I know who are ecstatic that they traded James Harden away since he was the Lakers were terrified of him?
You can add me to that
okay.
list.
Yeah.
I hated him. He single-handedly for me really made me stop and think at some point this league really needs to crack down on flopping and acting when they're out on the court.
And
Because that dude was out of control.
You got your wish.
He was out of his mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen that one with Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, where he swung around and it was literally like.
He got a concussion.
No, not that one.
Oh.
Not the hit to the back of the head. The one after that, where he had the ball and he swung it around like this, and he faked the hit to his head and fell down. And then they showed it 30 seconds later. They were showing the replay of it, and he was this far away from his face. To me, they should be watching that back and going, fined. It's a fine. Like, we gotta. I hope they stick to that. They should. I mean, to me, that's a great way of using playback in the games. The replay. It's great that we can use it when we can, but I think there are other instances where basketball's got to be one of the hardest sports to referee. Just in watching it.
Can you believe we used to have 2 referees until like the late 80s?
But
how crazy is that?
But when you watch those games, though, I mean, guys weren't playing the way they are now. Back when Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, he was the only one of his kind. Nobody was really doing what he was doing at that point.
Well, they also policed themselves better, and now it's like. Even yesterday, Rondo took a little bit of a cheap shot at the end of the game against Wade, and everybody's got to stop and they got to watch the replays.
I love Rondo. I love Rajon Rondo. I'm so happy that the team is kind of his, and I hope he really steps up and and does it. I'm upset that they don't have Ray Allen anymore. I mean, I get it for him. It's a great move to go to Miami, but
he's a traitor. You know that though, right? I mean,
you know what? Yeah.
We were talking
if
about...
If you're from Boston, probably the saltiest city.
He's a traitor. He left. He went to our biggest rival.
How dare he?
How dare he do that?
Doesn't he still live there?
He's from Connecticut. He knew what he was doing.
Why are you so angry all the time? I don't understand.
I don't...
You're so angry.
I don't blame Ray for... leaving because we tried to trade him like 3
different
times.
They won a championship with him. I mean,
that's
the guy
going to Miami was a little tough to swallow.
Where should he have gone if he was going to go? What is there a place he could have gone to where you would have felt a little happier about it?
What was 90210's biggest rival in the 1990s? What was the show you hated the most?
Melrose Place.
Would you have joined the cast of Melrose Place?
For the money? Absolutely.
He took less money. He took half what he was making with the Celtics.
But he's going to get another ring. I mean, what do you think the chances are of the Celtics getting a ring this season?
I can't believe you would have joined the cast of Melrose Place. This is much worse than the Ray Allen
thing. Are you kidding? I stayed on 90210 for 10 years. Obviously, at some point, I was like, you know what? It's about the money now. I'm going to stick around and make it. So why would I not go to another show if I got paid more money?
It was a good 10 years, though.
It was a long 10 years.
It was a long 10 years?
Yes, it was.
But you were like a baby when you were on that show.
I was 17 when I started doing that show.
When did you get the Lakers season tickets?
We were talking about this. I think 94 or 95.
So you were like early 20s.
Yeah.
So you were initially a child actor.
Yeah,
I mean,
started
before
when I was 9.
you were. So what were your first couple gigs?
I did Knots Landing for 4.5 years.
Knots Landing?
Oh, yeah. You were a big fan of that show as well.
No, I didn't watch Knots Landing, but I knew it. It was the Dallas spinoff.
It was the Dallas spinoff.
Yeah, I knew about it. I knew Joan Van Ark. I knew it was
exactly.
Shackelford.
I was Donna Mills' son on that show.
Donna Mills was great looking.
Yeah, she was great looking.
And had a great run of Lifetime movies, I think, after that, or whatever she's in.
When they were paying a lot of money for those.
So you were Knots Landing, you were the son.
Yeah.
Did you have any issues? Did you have were you like doing speed or anything?
No. I was too young. I was like 10. That was like 10 to 14. So I was like the young kid that would go through, like, hey, here's my new puppy, and I'd walk through, and it was just so she had a kid.
Wow.
She
had
humanize kids, her. Right, exactly.
Right.
To humanize the character. So every once in a while I pop up and they go, oh, it's great. Look, they're kids.
So what was the next one?
There, I did a bunch of commercials, and then I did a bunch of pilots for other things, and then 90210 was just another kind of pilot at that point.
In a 90210, you were the kid who was younger than the other kids.
Yeah.
But then somehow, we kind of glossed over this.
No, I did summer school.
Summer school, but somehow caught up an entire year.
I did.
I didn't know anybody in real life who did that.
Listen, man, don't hate genius. It's like you don't hate the sport. Don't hate the sport. You know what I'm saying?
The best part is he was so smart that he could skip a year of high school, but then like 4 years later is working in a car wash.
Right.
It was like, I thought you had an IQ of 180. You could skip all your...
Coke is a horrible drug.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So what were your substance abuse issues? You had...
I did meth on the show. I did crystal meth.
That was a little extreme.
It was a little. That was when I was doing radio.
Yeah.
It was when I was doing nighttime radio at California University. I think it was.
Yeah, the nighttime
Right?
shift.
The nighttime shift.
It's frightening how much I know about this stuff.
It is.
But yeah, you were the overnight shift, and somehow that got you hooked on crystal meth.
It was fun. Well, it was during finals. It was during finals. I had to study. And then, as you know, I did a lot of dancing as well at that time. So,
Right.
Needed the crystal meth. I mean, that
And
was the
then-
only way to get through.
Wasn't there was some speed too, though, at some point?
I
remember
was speedy
Dylan
enough from
flushing flushing stuff down the toilet. Right
No,
before
that
the,
was
that was something
That was
else.
my dealer's stuff that I was.
Oh,
holding
that's right.
on
You
to.
were holding on. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Got it. So then you had.
That was when I found the guys and they were shooting up their toes. They were doing heroin and everything. It's crazy.
The good thing about
That's when
902
the show got really dark.
there was
Those
a
are the
couple
dark days of 90210.
Well, people could get addicted to drugs on 90210 and
Just
then
by
battle
being
through
an
it.
actor on that show.
Well, and it was fine.
Right.
But I mean, you like Dylan would do heroin, he's fine. He's
Yeah.
totally recovered.
Totally.
Good. Doesn't have to go to any meetings.
Well, no, you do a couple meetings. I mean, as long as before it gets boring to watch.
But
And then you're
initially it was more of a family teen drama.
Oh, we were the first show that talked about. We were the first of that kind of show. We were the
Yes.
first teenage nighttime soap. Aaron Spelling was a genius.
I guess that's
We
true.
were the very first one.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I can't think of another one. So and the first 3 years were high school, and then they
First
had
3
to
years
just
were
keep
high
it going.
school, and then we did college, and then we did real life. Graduated from college, and I worked at the car wash.
At what point did you feel like it was just a giant money grab by the producers and everybody?
Like season 8.
Season 8. See, I enjoyed season 8.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah.
You
it was
were
a
a
good
big
money
fan
grab.
of the later years?
I liked the Peach Pit After Dark.
Good.
I
Good
could have
for
spent
you.
a few more years there.
Nice.
It was good. I like the concept of taking a diner, the Peach Pit,
And adding
which
a
somehow
club
had
to
a
the
back
back of
room
it.
and somehow had enough room for a 2-story club
It did.
in the back with and people would go. And also, so I was living in Boston when I watched the show, so I had no concept of how LA worked, what the geography was, where
Right.
things were.
Right.
So to me, it made perfect sense that Beverly Hills was next to the beach club. It'd be like,
Right.
oh yeah,
Of course.
yeah, he's gonna go down to the beach club and see them, and then
Right,
they're
you
gonna
ride
go
the
back to
bike.
the Walsh house.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
And then you come here and it's like, oh, that's
Right,
ridiculous.
they're not
There's
close to
no-
each other at all.
and
It's
nobody
a
would ever
45-minute
go-
drive with no traffic.
You're right, with no traffic.
Right.
And then you would be like, yeah, you would not go to a bar in Beverly Hills ever.
I don't know if there are any bars.
There
in
aren't
Beverly
any
Hills.
bars in Beverly Hills.
Uh-uh.
But this wasn't even.
People in Beverly Hills drink at home.
So you had, who did you date who was on the show?
I didn't date. I dated. I was dating Tiffany, but that was before she started doing the show.
Oh, before she came on.
Yeah, before she came on. She was doing Saved by the Bell, the college one.
So you were 90210 and you were dating her when she was on Saved by the Bell.
Yeah,
That's pretty interesting.
it is pretty interesting.
Because those were two of the biggest ones at the time.
Yeah, that college years one was big. I mean, that was a sitcom, but it was.
Yeah. So then she came on, you weren't dating her anymore.
This all seems so ridiculous.
I love it though.
to
It's
talk
great.
about. Is it really?
Yeah, no.
Interesting.
So she came on.
Interesting. Yeah.
You were not dating her anymore.
We broke up about a year into it.
And then you had to date her on the show.
Then I dated her on the show.
Yeah.
It sucked.
But did you follow like all this stuff? Like she was on Howard Stern
Mm-mm.
talking about she was like friends with Jenny Garth and then she was feuding with her and
She was talking about that on Stern?
she talked about that on Stern.
Why?
I don't know. It was bizarre. It was
People
like a
share
big.
too much.
You think so?
People share too much information. I mean, honestly, who cares? I don't. And I know Stern is a big fan of the show. He was always really great and
Huge
supportive
fan.
of it. Which I've never met him, but God bless him. He's never said an ill word about me, and he could have for years. I always expected that he would. But yeah, they were best friends, and then I don't know. Is it anybody else's business when you're not friends with somebody anymore? I mean, I have a million people I was friends with that I'm not friends with anymore.
Who was your closest friend from the show?
I think Luke was my closest friend. We actually
Closest
did,
friend now or just back then?
back then and now. We did a commercial before 90210 for Dr. Pepper, and we hung out the whole day. We got along really well, and then I went and did the pilot for 90210, and he wasn't in that. And then we came back for episode 1 after the show got picked up, and he showed up, and it was just really cool having somebody there that I had really connected with, and we just got along well before then, and we still talk all the time. He's just a really good guy.
Did you pick a side in the Kelly Taylor choosing between Brandon and Dylan? Do you have an opinion on that?
No.
She chose herself.
She chose herself.
This is how it
she
played
chose
out.
jeans, I think, didn't she?
She chose jeans. That
She
was
chose
crazy.
jeans, yeah.
What was your reaction to that? Old Navy.
Good for them, man. It was like 3 commercials.
That was like, I can't even tell you
It's
how
a
many.
great deal.
I cannot tell you how many times people emailed that to me.
I think that it got a really big reaction too. People really
Huge.
liked those commercials.
Yeah.
Which who would have known? I mean, who would have thought?
It made me think. This is an idea I was going to throw at you for the comeback reunion show.
Is it centered around?
You're
Old
in a
Navy?
show. You're on the wedding band.
Right.
November 10th, TBS.
November 10th,
10
TBS,
o'clock.
10 o'clock.
We're going to talk
10
about
o'clock
that.
Eastern.
I think you can do double duty, though. Even though you just had
I have
a kid.
tons of time.
Even though you just had a kid, I think you do 2 shows.
I have so much time on my hands.
Here's my idea for 902 and Old.
902 and old.
902 and Old. That's the title.
Okay, I
Because
like
it's
it.
the same characters.
Yeah, no, it's good.
All right. Your character, you own a series of nightclubs.
Uh-huh.
You,
Here,
you have
in
here.
Beverly Hills still.
You're a celebrity nightclub owner. You have celebrity investors. So we have real celebrities. We have cameos.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like 8. Like you're in Us Weekly. You're dating
Wait,
celebrities.
real quick. Sorry, I don't want to cut off your thing.
Yeah.
How long have you been thinking about this?
No, I'm springing it on you right now.
This is brand new. So
Well,
this is all, but this is off the top. You're
might
just,
have been thinking about it in
you're
the shower
inspired.
this morning.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, you're inspired. Go for it.
See, if celebrity investors,
Right.
you open up these clubs,
Uh-huh.
they're a smash hit. You might have gotten over leveraged. You're not doing as well as it seems like you are on the outside. You owe some people some money. David Silver was always good when he owed people money, right? So that's you. Brandon, he runs remember he was in newspapers.
Right.
Now the natural progression is in the internet.
Right.
Him and Steve Sanders own a website.
Okay.
Steve Sanders wants to smut it up
Hmm.
to make more money. Brandon wants to stay more traditional journalistic thing.
Because he's Brandon Walsh.
Right. They need more money. They need to bring Dylan in. Dylan still has his millions.
still
that
has
he's
his
kept.
money.
Yeah, he hasn't squandered it somehow.
Okay.
So you're also leaning on Dylan. So Dylan's kind of like money. He doesn't know whether he should help his friends or not. That's his role. Valerie
Mm-hmm.
is now a madam.
Okay.
I haven't figured out what to do with Kelly and Donna yet.
You're doing great so far. I mean, there's got to be
Kelly and Donna, I
something.
think, are divorced and just kind of living together in Reseda.
That's good.
And
In Reseda.
Yeah, I don't know, they have 2. I don't know. They have 2 teenage kids. And, I don't know. It hasn't worked out that well for them.
Now, are they dating? Have they've jumped out of the
that's it.
man
I didn't
pool
think
and
about
they're
that.
like
Oh, that would be interesting. Like they're against
too
men.
much drama with men?
Oh, that's
Ray
really
Pruitt,
interesting.
Ray Pruitt was.
Ray Pruitt comes
beat
back?
her and
That's interesting.
We're
I
onto
didn't think of
something.
that. Here's the point. I think people would at least watch the pilot.
I don't think they would.
Come on,
I
really?
don't. I don't.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm pretty serious.
Well, let's talk about the wedding band.
Yes. Let's do
Hopefully
that.
people watch Wedding Band. I still think people would watch 902 and Old.
You're on the show, by the way.
I'm on the Wedding Band. I
You're
got
on
roped
the
into
Wedding
a
Band.
cameo.
You didn't get
I didn't
roped
even know
in.
an
I heard
episode.
you were excited to do it.
I was super excited.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well-
had to like sign up for AFTRA and everything.
So now you're an AFTRA.
I share Clipper season tickets with
Mike Tolan.
Mike Tolan,
Yeah.
and who is
Now, how
one
many
of the
seats
guys
do
who
you
created
guys
the
have?
show. We have 2 seats.
So you guys like alternate, or do you just go to the games together?
You know what's weird? It's we'll
I
go
always
to a lot of
wondered
them
that, 'cause
together.
That's tough.
Yeah, you know, it's
The big games come up, and I'm sure you'd like to take somebody other than Mike Tolan, but you have.
You know
no
what's
choice.
weird? We like going together, so it's like organically it always works out. There's never been a situation where it's like
Because you
there's
both love
bitterness.
the Clippers.
Well, we both like going.
Right.
It's weird. He's a Sixer fan. I'm a Celtic fan, so maybe that's another thing. We never
Right.
feel like.
There's no rivalry between the two of you.
Or it'd be terrible if we missed a game or something. So
Now,
usually,
let me ask you though, when did the Clipper thing start for you? Just because of your disdain for the Lakers, but you were here in town, and like the seats were cheap, or what? I mean, how did that? Why the Clippers? Why?
NBA basketball.
Right.
I grew up going to Celtic games. I like going to see the other teams
Mhm.
and seeing the players in person, which I think
Right.
is a huge part of just being a fan.
Right.
You just pick up so much more stuff.
Yeah.
Clipper tickets were much cheaper.
Oh, they were like you could buy floor seats
Yeah.
for $75, And
It was
they had like 2-for-1 deals. I remember at one point.
We were like, my first year I was in like the 8th row between the baskets, and it was like $70 a ticket or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the Lakers were
100 and
that was the Kobe Shaq era too. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Well, now
plus-
they're over that. Now they're 230 or something in seat.
It almost seems like they could charge more for the court sides.
I have no idea what the courtside seats are even going for.
Because that's
my
like real
section
real
alone,
estate.
112 is where the real estate though that you have for your Clipper seats and that I have for my Lakers seats are those 3 sections on either side of the court are a big deal. I mean, I'll never get rid of my tickets. Even if I don't want to go anymore, I'll sell them to somebody else because I'll never get them back.
Well, now online it's so much easier to unload tickets than it used to be. Probably
they have the whole ticket thing with the Lakers and
like
all
what'd you
that.
do in the 1990s if you couldn't go?
I would just give them to people. I'd call people and go, "Hey, do you want to go tonight?" And they
But you
leave
couldn't
cash
even,
in the
like-
mailbox and take them.
But how would you even get them to them?
They'd come pick them up out of the mailbox.
Yeah, now it's super easy. So even like
You can email them. Yeah.
like Tolan and I will be like, they make it so easy with the website because we'll be like,
Well, it used
"You
to have to
wanna
be
go last
will
minute
call and all
forward
that
it?"
stuff.
Yeah, we forward
Which
everything.
sucked, having to send somebody to will call because
Yeah.
every time somebody ever said they left tickets for me at will call, I always assumed that they didn't because half the time you get there and it's like there's nothing under your name and then you get
Right.
back in the car and drive home. So it's nice that somebody can print them at home and go.
I always have this whole fight with the will call people because it says William on my driver's license, but people leave the tickets to Bill.
Uh-huh.
And they're always super suspicious that I'm not the same person. And it's like,
Not
Bill-
knowing that one is short.
Bill
for the
is
other.
short for William. I'm
Right.
not the only Bill who's short for William. Like, I'm sure
Well,
this
and it's
isn't
kind
the
of
first
like
time.
universal common knowledge. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same thing as like you hear a shotgun going in somebody's
It's
house.
unbelievable.
You get out.
One of the
deal.
people wouldn't even give me the tickets. I had to like bring like 4 of the credit cards out and show like other. I mean, it's nuts. So I never. And the will call scene at Staples is a nightmare because it seems like everybody
is.
just gets their tickets from there.
Well, but also everybody just stands around hoping that somebody has seats
One
that they
extra.
want to get rid of.
True. How many actual title clincher games have you gone to?
Almost all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were there in 2010.
Yeah.
That was one of my toughest sporting events ever.
Yeah.
The confetti falling on me as my team came
Yeah.
like 2 plays short,
No, I
basically.
know.
It was
No,
tough.
It is.
You know,
It
if
hurts.
if you lose that game, Kobe's whole career is remembered probably differently because he was terrible in that game until the 4th quarter,
Yeah.
right?
But that's what makes Kobe Kobe.
But remember though in the 3rd quarter when you were having a heart attack?
No, I know. But again, that's the thing that makes Kobe Bryant Kobe Bryant. You know,
The ability to go 1 for 17.
the
and then-
ability to go 1 for 17 and then when it counts, go 15 for 15. You know, in the 4th quarter and just
I think it's like
crush-
2 for 4.
single-handedly crush a team.
Have you
seen him
met
do
these
it.
guys?
I haven't met any of them.
Not any of them?
Not one.
How's that possible?
I know. I don't. I was thinking that coming here, and then I walk in here and you have all this like signed stuff, and you got nobody.
You just have a signed Scalabrini.
But still, I mean, for you that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But here's the difference, though. You could get anything signed that you wanted signed. I can't. I have to go through like the publicist channels and all that stuff, and it's all kind of third hand. You know.
I think I would have just as much trouble as you.
No, get out of
No,
here.
I would.
Somebody
would.
could say to Kobe, "Hey, Bill Simmons wants you to autograph something." He'd go, "Oh yeah, sure. What does
Yeah,
Bill
he'd-
want on
he'd
it?"
write, you, Bill.
They'd go, and then.
I read what you wrote about me.
Sure, possibly, which
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him. But then if it was like, oh, hey, Brian Austin Green wants you to sign this, he'd probably say who, and then it would be like a whole deal of, that.
I think you totally underrate the whole 90210 thing. I really
I
do.
don't know. He may have.
It's had
I
a
don't
whole-
know. He might have watched.
It's
I
had
don't
like
know.
a whole second life because
I
of
have
the
no idea.
FX and the SoapNet stuff.
Yeah, but
A
for
whole
me,
new generation that you don't even know is watching has been watching for the last 10 years.
But if you're trying to somehow convince me that Kobe
it's gonna affect
Bryant
Kobe
is,
Bryant?
that Kobe Bryant is going home after games going, I wonder what's on SoapNet.
Maybe it's-
oh look, 90210 is. I can't wait to watch this.
Little known fact.
I really don't.
Little
really
known
don't buy
fact.
that.
He does. I've heard that. I've
No,
heard
you
that through the
have not.
grapevine. I heard.
You're
He's a huge
you're
season
lying.
5 fan. He likes sophomore year. He liked when Valerie.
He
showed
really
up.
liked the Donna Martin graduates here.
Valerie was his kind of girl.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot about. We didn't talk about the Donna Martin graduates. What do you think the
I
most?
don't know if there's much to talk about. With
What
that.
was the
That
most
a-
ridiculous moment in your opinion?
I
over the
think
10
us
years?
marching with signs that said Donna Martin graduates around the campus of Occidental College, pretending it was California
Is
University.
that where you filmed it?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Our high school was Torrance High School.
So you filmed all the California University scenes at Occidental College. Like, where's that?
Have
Like
you
next
ever,
to Eagle
have you ever
Rock?
been to California University? I mean,
I guess it doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist, right?
I
So
like
you
that
gotta shoot
everybody
it
went to the same. That's another TV device. Where all the friends go to the same
Go to the same-
college.
yeah, they all
Nobody
get
wants
in.
to break off and go to like
Well, no, everybody
Harvard
got
or
in.
Yale or whatever. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
gets in.
It's money, man. Beverly Hills, we all bought our way in.
Did you feel like David ended up with the right? I always kind of felt like Valerie was the right one for him. I really did.
Really?
I never the Donna thing. I never was totally sold on.
Yeah.
I feel like the producers, because it was spelling. I
He
feel
really
like
shortchanged.
no, it was like
David
it was
thing.
his daughter, and it was. I just feel like he pushed that on.
I had the funniest conversation with Aaron one time, early on. And this was a real life conversation where he literally sat down with me one day and he said, listen, I just want you to know that if you don't want to date my daughter, that I won't fire you for it.
in real life or on
In
the show.
real life. In real life. It was, Tori was, I mean, to be around her at that point, everybody thought, man, that's the boss's daughter. Like, you kind of got to go along with whatever she wants to do or thinks because it's Tori Spelling. She later proved that that wasn't the case, but early on, that would be a natural concern for people. I mean, she's there, and that was a conversation that I had with him because I was worried because there seemed like a moment there where
She liked you.
maybe there was something there, and I was worried about it, and he had that conversation with me and really made me feel better about it. So I respected him for that.
But how does he even sniff that out? He's like a billionaire. Because
He
there's
was
little tentacles
around.
out?
You know what? He was really involved. He watched all of our dailies, like everything that we shot every day would go to him, and he would watch them all. He would read every script. He was really involved in everything.
So you
It's
buy
why
the whole
made
thing? He was a
money that he did.
genius.
He figured out what he wanted to do. I mean, he figured out what he was good at. He was good at making his sort of look at television was he wanted to make shows that were easy for people to watch. People would go to work, have a long day, and get home and be able to sit back and not have to think too much while they were watching the shows. They were just entertaining.
Yeah.
They weren't huge on story. It's not like, oh, I missed last week's episode. What's going on? It wasn't, you could be as involved as you wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it was still entertaining and fun. And you look at all of his shows, and I mean, his track record was unbelievable. I mean, he did some of the biggest shows anybody's ever seen.
It was really interesting when they had that combo of the two shows back to back, the 90210
And
Melrose.
Melrose Place. And 90210, by the way, that was his last shot. He hadn't had a show for a while.
Yeah.
And it was kind of his last thing. He threw it out there and he said, if this doesn't work, I'm going to, bow out gracefully.
He'd already made a lot of money, but yeah, I mean.
Oh, he was worth $1 gajillion at that point. Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard to explain to the younger people, but like pre-internet, that became like a night, and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like
Wednesday nights.
Wednesday nights,
Yeah.
and it became like, and then you would talk about it the next day, and
Yeah.
it was like always like
It was the show that built Fox.
yeah,
I mean,
no question.
People don't realize it, that Fox was a cable network before 90210.
Yeah,
And the show just became so big with kids, and all these kids were telling their parents that they wanted to see it, and they all knew of it. And so all those parents were writing in and calling, and Fox started buying all of these, smaller stations all across the country. And they don't talk about it too much, but I was there. I saw it happening. It was pretty impressive. I mean, before our show, they had the Tracy Ullman show and the Gary Shandling show, and Married with Children was on, which was
Right.
a big one for them because
Simpsons.
it really, people loved that show, The Simpsons. But 90210 was the one that really kind of pushed Fox into all that.
When did you all of a sudden realize that everybody in the show was super famous?
It was after season 1. I love this. This is like one of the experiences I always remember because it was really cool. It was grad night at Disneyland, and there's that stage over in that where Space Mountain and all of that is, the one that comes up out of the ground.
Right.
So for grad night, they had a bunch of bands and stuff that would come and perform. And back then it was like Wilson Phillips performed, and Another Bad Creation performed, like all these, all those like classic groups from the early 90s. And so we were going to go and do an appearance, and it was probably 5 or 6 of us. Myself, Luke, Jason, I think Ian was there, Jenny and Shannon. I don't remember if Tori was there or not. So they brought us in underground through the whole like underground tunnel system at Disney, which was really cool. I didn't know that all existed. So they brought us in underground. We were kind of in this waiting room that was underground where the stage comes down and everybody gets off and unloads and then loads and it comes back up. And Wilson Phillips were out there before us performing. I love the memory that Wilson Phillips were out there. And so they finished performing and we were waiting for the stage to come down, and then we heard all of this screaming still going on upstairs, and we thought, okay, they must be like doing an encore, doing another show or whatever. And we were really nervous because we kind of thought, oh, the stage is going to come, nobody's going to know who we are, because our show did really well and kind of blew up during the summer when other shows were on hiatus. And so the stage came down and we all got on and we thought it would be really fun. We were kids. We were like, oh, let's hide. So when the stage comes up, there's nobody on it. It's completely empty, you know. So we did. The stage came up and we were hiding and we didn't hear anything, and we popped up and everybody went crazy. And it was like a sea of kids. I'd never seen so many people. I'd never been on a stage that had so many people standing around it. And it was literally anything that we did, they would respond to. Like you could wave or do. It was.
And they're just deliriously happy.
Well, and it was back during that time when like New Kids on the Block were huge, and you know I'd seen all the news footage of them like getting on their tour bus overseas or here, and you know fans chasing them down the street and freaking out and climbing over fences and all like the chaos that surrounded them when they went places. And all of a sudden I had that same feeling, and we were up on stage and I thought, this is insane. Like, how did this happen? And it was overnight. I mean, nobody watched our show the first season. Our numbers were terrible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until those summer episodes that anybody saw any of it.
Well, it was the summer and they were working the
we
beach
did
club.
The Beverly Hills Beach Club the first summer, and that was Aaron's idea also. He thought, you know, it'd be great to have new episodes on when kids are out of school, when they're on break and they have something to watch.
And the dirty secret of 90210 is they worked you guys like slaves. Like you had like a 32 episode season 35.
And we did that for I think
now
6
it's like
of the seasons.
35 episodes.
Yeah. Most shows do 22.
That's
so
crazy.
We would shoot 2 episodes at once. We would have 2 crews and setups, and you'd work one morning on episode 7 and then you'd go for episode 8, you know, to the next stage over, and we were just mass producing it, man.
Does that make you a better or a worse actor to have to crank it out like that?
I think it makes you a better actor.
Yeah.
I mean, our scripts alone made us all better actors. There were certain scripts you'd get where it was like, this is horrible. Like, how are we going to make this any good? Like, this is impossible to shoot. And you'd be on set really trying to make something work, and you'd end up with migraine headaches because you just couldn't wrap your brain around what they were trying to do. But you know, when you're doing a show for 10 years and 35 episodes a season, you just run out of stuff. I mean,
it's insane.
We had just milked everything that we could out of that show. There wasn't anything left to do.
The smartest thing that did, which a lot of shows don't do, is that it changed the cast as it went along, which always kind of injects like the new freshness into it. And some shows just, I think that's why some shows kind of would die after 3-4 years, because they never had that new influx of people.
Well, I think though, you know, there were times that things went down, like Shannon, for instance, where that was sort of that was on the producer level. They started worrying that the negative press that she was getting was going to start affecting the show in a negative way, so they decided to move on from her. And then I think, you know, Gabrielle, who played Andrea, had an issue where she was married and was having kids, and it became too much work for her, and in the renegotiation process it just kind of came down to I can't.
And she was like 25 years older than you. That was another problem. She was 40 years old and she was a freshman in college.
I'm just gonna dust over that one.
She's
just gonna
38.
pretend that didn't.
No. Well, you did.
I'm gonna drink water.
The age ranges were a little different with the cast members.
They were, but it was hard because you want a show that's cool, but I mean, I was 17. I was the age of the kids that were watching.
Yeah.
And look at me, man. I mean, I wore the worst clothes and had like, you know, I was in that stage of like, who am I and what am I doing? So you better bring in some older kids that have kind of figured it out a little bit and know what cool is.
Yeah, but you know what though? That the stuff you wore kind of captured that era. I mean, if you watch some of those shows,
but you say that
the
now
hairdos and this stuff.
Yeah,
that's how people dressed.
Because of our show, you mean, or just in
No,
general?
just in general. I remember remember the Priestley had the shaved head on the sides with the higher hair.
With the high.
That was my senior year college haircut. I didn't know any better.
Well, but I think that, I mean, at that point though, people were actually watching our show and thinking that that's what people in Beverly Hills and in life were doing.
Yeah.
And they thought that people really wore the stuff we wore and did their hair the way we did.
Yeah.
It's because the internet didn't exist. I mean, once people found the internet, they're like, this show sucks. Like none of this is what anybody's doing. I mean, nobody's doing any of this stuff.
Or they thought, wow, I didn't realize as many people love this show.
It's why our show would never work now. I've said that to people that have asked.
You don't think the show would work as well with the internet?
No.
Because
No.
people would be picking it apart.
Absolutely. People would be picking it apart, and I think back when our show came out, because there was such limited access to Beverly Hills as a city, unless you had been there, people were curious. And the only way that they could get information about it was by watching our show. They would see the cars they were driving and the things they were wearing and
That's
the neighborhoods
interesting.
that they lived in.
Maybe that was one of the reasons I like the show, because I'm there in Boston.
You had no idea.
It's
how
freezing
would you
for
know?
8 months of the year. And I feel
But
like
imagine
this
if
was
you
this
had
other
all the
world.
access that you had. If while you were in Boston, you could be sitting on your computer going through everything that exists now, you wouldn't feel so disconnected. But at that, then your bullshit meter changes at that point,
Right.
because you can see everything that's around.
You're married to somebody who is the most Facebook friended?
I
What
think
are the most
so. I think
Facebook
she's just
subscribers
under,
or something?
She's just under Barack Obama. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
I don't understand it either. She doesn't understand it either. I mean, it's.
How long have you guys
insane.
been together?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what was the
My
tipping?
son was 2 when we met and started dating, and he's 10.
What was the tipping point for her from a fame standpoint?
What do you mean the tipping point? What
I mean,
was
just
the-
when all of a sudden if she became like it became conceivable that she would have as many Facebook subscribers, although they didn't have Facebook back then, as the president. I mean, that's like a crazy level of fame.
Yeah, I don't know though if they ever went into creating the Facebook page thinking that would be the case. I mean, I think it was at the point when, I mean, her Facebook page wasn't, she didn't create it. It was kind of, she did it with her agent and kind of people like that, and just they thought, oh, it's a nice way to kind of get information out to fans and sort of, update things. And because she's really private, she doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we sit at home and the most we do is come to Laker games or go to dinner. We don't go out places. So whenever you see pictures of us anywhere, it's like leaving a grocery store or leaving like Chin Chin or these.
The stars, they're just like us.
Right, exactly.
Page. I
Right,
always like
that's,
that.
and that's
They get
all we're
coffee.
that's all we're ever on, because we literally don't do anything else.
They take out the garbage.
They take out the garbage, right? Totally. There are pictures of me like walking outside in shorts, like
Holding
putting
garbage?
in the trash can.
That's nice.
It's good stuff.
So when you leave your house, you'll just see some creepy dude like
Sometimes.
kind of halfway down the street, like with the.
Yeah, and they've started taking pictures further and further away, because I have a real disdain for paparazzi.
I don't blame you.
I think they're just terrible people. I think what they do is horrible. I think they obviously could care less about anybody's human rights. They could care less about your privacy or your private time with your family, or they just have zero concern or respect for people's lives at all. So to me they kind of become a different class of person.
But at the same time, when it happens to you, you almost have to be like good-natured guy as it's happening, right? Like you're getting off, you're coming down the escalator in the airport, and you got like TMZ there. Like if you're a then all of a sudden you're on TMZ.
Well, you just have to learn to ignore them. That's all you can do. At first I would get really frustrated, and the you doing, man? Why don't you get a real job? Like I'd say all sorts because I get really frustrated. And now I figured out that if you don't say anything, then they have nothing. It's like, oh, here's a video of them walking, and you don't say anything, so there's not much to report.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
the
basically
less you give them, the better.
So the strategy is just silence and boringness.
Yeah, be the person that they can't sell.
If they had this stuff around when you were in the mid '90s, when you were probably going out in LA, that probably wouldn't have been good.
Oh, we would have been.
Who
would have been? I mean, I was out at clubs 4 or 5 nights a week. Yeah, it was.
Who was your crew when you were going out?
I was big into hip hop, so I was going to all the hip hop clubs, and I was hanging out with like guys from the Far Side and Will I Am and all them when we were all like kids. I mean, I knew Will when he was 13, and he'd come actually through a club, and he would come every week and win the freestyle competition.
Really?
Every week. He was one of the best MCs in LA. And yeah, that was my scene.
What about who else was your age range? Was Charlie Sheen's older than you? So who was your
Charlie
age
Sheen
range
was from
of
the
actor?
next group. Yeah,
Yeah.
There was that generation of Charlie Sheen and Judd Nelson and all.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
that was before you.
The Brat Pack and all them. Yeah.
Was River Phoenix your age?
No,
group?
River was in with Johnny and Keanu Reeves and that.
That's
They
older than
had-
you too.
Yeah, they had their group. So my group was like it was it was a stupid group. It was me, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh yeah.
Tobey Maguire.
Ethan Haas.
No, Ethan Hawke was Keanu Reeves and
Oh,
that.
Lucas Haas.
Lucas Haas.
Lucas Haas. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Ethan.
David Faustino from
Married with Children guy? Yeah.
Bud Bundy. Corky Nemec, who was on that Parker Lewis Can't Lose show. Remember him?
Oh, and don't think he didn't make a 90210 cameo.
No, he never did.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, see, I know him more than you.
Shut up.
He was Valerie Malone's business manager. He bilked her out of her money.
No. Corky Nemec?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
I'll do the Pepsi challenge with you.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because I think you're wrong.
We're gonna look it up.
I
as
don't
we're
think
talking.
I don't think Corky was ever on the show.
I think he.
No way.
I think he stole money from Valerie Malone.
I think you're wrong.
All right, we'll see.
We'll see.
By the end of this podcast, we'll know.
We have time, right?
We'll know.
Yeah.
So were you?
You're going down, man.
Were you friends with Leo?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So Leo was like Growing Pains, kind of.
He was
similar
doing
child actor.
He was doing Growing
trajectory.
Pains. I actually knew him before Growing Pains, but he was doing Growing Pains when I was doing 90210. And yeah, we used to all hang out, Toby and Leo and I.
And he doesn't. He hates talking about Growing Pains. Like he doesn't. He tries to pretend it never happened.
I don't blame him.
I thought he was good on that show.
But that doesn't matter.
I remember
man.
watching him on that show
he's a
thinking,
movie
that guy's
star.
gonna be
why
famous.
Why does he want to talk about Growing Pains?
No, but it was good.
He's
He
one of
had
the
good
biggest
moments
movie
in there,
stars on the
though.
planet.
Pretty good moments on there, though.
Well, again, though, why he's one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. So I think you kind of let those smaller moments go.
I think Alan Thicke was a little hurt he didn't go to the reunion.
He might have been. There's a picture of me flipping off a paparazzi in Roxbury upstairs with Tori and Shannon and Mark Wahlberg. That's like a classic. Because the windows were tinted and we thought like, oh, they can't see through. We were drunk, flipping them off. And it's like a clear as day. Like, there they are. And that was when paparazzi had to like go, they would take pictures and then develop them.
Right.
And then go in, it was like Spider-Man. They'd have to go in and then sell them,
Where were you living at this time?
I was living in Burbank. I moved out of my parents' house in North Hollywood and I bought my first house in Burbank.
And did your parents kind of let the reins go a little bit?
My mom didn't. My dad absolutely did. My dad was like, hey, go be a man.
It's got to be weird. Like, you're like, yeah, our son should be an actor. Oh, yeah, he's got some gigs. Oh, he's on this gigantic show and
It
he's
wasn't
famous.
even their call.
Yeah.
I was riding the bus in elementary school. I was riding the bus with a kid that did commercials. And he always had like really cool toys, like all the all the old school like video games back then that were like dot matrix, and it was like it was literally like, oh, it's a race car game and the race car moved like this and you would have to go around this block and go around this block, and that was it. But they were the coolest things ever back then, and he had all of those. I was like, how do you have every toy, that's everything, how is this possible? He said, oh, I do commercials. And I didn't know that normal people were on television. I didn't realize that was like a world that was something you could do. I thought it was either magic and you were in the box, or you were normal and you lived and you're outside of it. So I told my parents that I wanted to be an actor, and they made me wait 6 months to see if I still wanted to do it, and I did. And I went and I met with his agent.
At what point did you realize that the best reason to be an actor is actually because of the girls?
90210.
Because initially you thought it was toys.
Initially it was money. Yeah.
Toys and money, and then you're like, Oh wait, there's this other side benefit.
Right, there's a side to
so
this
it
that's
turns
really
out,
cool.
Yeah.
This will make me cool
Yeah.
somehow.
Turns out girls like people who are on television a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm.
Shocking.
So, would you let your either son, go into acting or no?
I'm
always interested in this question.
I'd let him study. I wouldn't stop him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm doing him a disservice if I try and tell him what he should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll make sure that he's going to know enough about it. Both of my sons, they'll know enough about it by the time they're old enough to do it, where I think, you put him in acting class, and then if it's something that he wants to deal with, then he will. I mean, my oldest, my 10-year-old, Cassius, he's actually, when we were doing Wedding Band, he came out. I had a week with him where he was on break from school, but we were shooting. So he came and he was an AD for a week and literally got there in the morning, put on a headset, and was like part of the staff and was getting actors out of their trailers and getting them to makeup. And
he must have loved that.
Getting them on set, and he loved it. He would take his own breaks, which was funny. Every once in a while, I'd get on the radio and ask where he was, and they'd go, "Oh, he's in your trailer," and he'd be in there like playing video games. And I'd go, "Dude, you can't. It's not break time." That was the deal. I was like, "Listen, you can come to set, but you got to work," And he was great. He loved it, and he was really good at it.
Let's talk about the show since we skipped over.
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
It's a wedding band. The trials, travails, tribulations of a traveling wedding band.
We're a mid-30s wedding band. We're a band that never made it. They never made it on their own. But
there's still like a
weddings.
1% chance you might make it, right? Or is
well,
that
they started
over?
playing weddings, and they realized that like this is way cooler because the alcohol's free everywhere we go. Everybody always knows the lyrics to all the songs that we play.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like the superstars of these events,
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a struggling band in Seattle going and playing bars where there's 10 people and nobody cares you're there, it's like, let's weigh that out. This is great, and everybody, whenever wedding parties always have fun, everybody gets wasted and they want to have the most fun they've ever had. And so we kind of figured out that that's what we can do. We can make it the biggest night for everyone.
I thought it was a good idea for a show. I always felt like I remember, what was the wedding? The Wedding Crashers.
Oh, Wedding Singer. Yeah, Wedding
Wedding
Crashers.
Singer and Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
I like both of those movies, and both times when I left, I was always like, man, it's weird they don't make more stuff about weddings. When you think like how many weddings everybody goes to.
Yeah.
Well,
and we've become an event band now, so it's not just weddings. We do bar mitzvahs, and we do coming out parties, and we do
bar
all sorts.
mitzvahs. So there's gonna be a bar mitzvah episode.
Yeah. Well, there's an episode where we did the first episode, the pilot. There's a bar mitzvah mixed in there that we do.
And now
we do like throwback like graduation parties, and we do
So how did you handle the actual music?
The music was the funnest part. And I mean, watching 90210 that I kind of grew up doing music, but I never made any money doing it. So I'm getting paid as an actor, but I get to do 3 songs for every episode. And our music guys, Adam Schlesinger,
Covers or new songs?
Covers, and then we've done a couple original songs as well. But we're covering great stuff, and we're doing our own versions of them that are great. I mean, we did like an Oktoberfest version of I Want to Rock and Roll All Night. That's awesome, and it's like our own version where I'm playing the accordion and our drummer is on a bass drum, and we have one guy playing the trombone and one guy playing the harmonica, and it's great. It's really
so
fun.
You guys actually have to rehearse like a real band.
Oh yeah, we have to go in the studio and record, and then we have to rehearse it and get it all together. And I grew up playing drums and piano, but I play guitar on the show, so I have to learn all the guitar parts. And
you learned the guitar from scratch?
Yeah.
I was like jealous of those people who could do that.
Well, no, so was I. I've always wanted to play guitar my whole life, and I couldn't. I would always pick it up and I would try and somehow relate it to a piano.
Yeah.
And it doesn't relate at all. So once I sort of got that out of my head, and I thought, okay, it's like learning a new language. It's like it'd be like trying to learn Chinese or Japanese, but somehow relating it to English. You can't. It's just its own
language.
It's its own language completely. So you can't try and figure out, okay, what is the Japanese word for swim or the Japanese word for? It just doesn't relate that way. It doesn't. The two don't correspond.
Yeah.
Guitar has nothing to do with piano. You can't you can't look at the strings and figure out how they lay out the same way as like a keyboard would, because they just don't. So instead you have to learn the chords and the progressions, and you have to figure out sort of how it works within its own language. And then once you do, it's pretty easy. It just becomes the work of getting your fingers to do it.
So you're lead guitar, vocal.
I'm not lead guitar, I'm rhythm guitar.
Rhythm guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the guy, Peter, who plays our lead guitarist, Peter Camber, he's actually a really good guitar player. And then on the side, he plays the banjo, which is frustrating as hell. I don't know if there's anything worse than having like a banjo player that you share a trailer with.
Right.
We have one of those double end trailers, so we have a common wall. And I'll go in there and he's literally watching YouTube videos of like Steve Martin playing the banjo.
Oh yeah.
And he's trying to figure out licks.
Yeah.
And it's like living next to the Country Bear Jamboree. It's like the worst. It was funny at first, but it's just the worst energy ever, hearing the banjo all day long.
How many episodes did you do?
We did 10. We do 10
and it's
episodes
1
a
hour.
season. It's 1 hour. Yeah, we're the first comedy that's done 1 hour episodes. So each one plays more like a movie than a television show.
So you must have spent a while shooting this.
We shot from October to the end of January.
Grantland's in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Grantland's music writer we assigned to do a story in the wedding band.
Yeah.
And that's my cameo.
That's your cameo. Yeah. And Mike said it's great. Mike said you did a good job too.
I don't know if I
great.
He
said you didn't phone it in, which was good.
No,
we were all worried like he's gonna kind of, you know.
I could not remember all my lines in sequence, but we did it for like a half hour.
You just shot them in pieces, and then
and finally we had enough. But then at the end I was like, I need one more take. I think I can nail this.
Yeah, did you?
And I nailed it in the last take, and the crew was like, yeah! Like the crew got fired up. And I was like, this acting thing's great.
Well, because you were the that was holding everybody up.
I was killing everybody. Yeah. I was like, look at this jerk.
You were the guy where they're all sitting around going, it's Shark Week, man.
That's exactly what it was. It was a Friday.
Get the fuck out of here.
It was Friday,
Jesus.
too. It was a double murder for everybody.
You're that guy.
So I did it, and I thought they were excited for me, but now I realize that you're right. They were just frustrated that I had to finish it.
Yeah, they were like, why do we bring in a perfectionist? Just bring in anybody that'll do it however and get it done.
Acting is a good gig. It's really...
It is.
I mean, it's really...
a great gig.
Really a good... Like, you just kind of hang out in your trailer. The big thing is being able to memorize. That's why I wouldn't be a good actor, because I'm not good at memorizing like 3-4 pages.
Yeah, well, you have to figure out the process of memorizing it. If you go in just trying to memorize the words, then you're gonna screw yourself.
What's the process?
It's when you're acting, if you figure out first why it is you're saying the things you're saying, like what's actually happening in the scene, then the words make sense. Because you realize, like, oh, that's why he's saying this, because this is how he's feeling, or this is what happened before, or this is what's going on. But if you just try and learn all these words and just stand there and spit out words, you know, it's like history class. I mean, you're just trying to learn a bunch of dates and times and speeches. It's all about figuring out what it is you're doing.
I wish you had given me the speech before my scene.
I know. Well, we met like 5 minutes before it. If we had met like a couple days before it, then I could have talked you into it. But that's all it is. If you start figuring out, it's all about listening. So if you're listening to what the other character is saying, then what is written for you, your response, is a natural response to what they're saying. Compared to if you're just trying to learn, okay, what's his last word he says? He says bicycle. Okay, and then I say the tree. It's impossible.
How much does it help to have somebody who's really good in the scene?
It helps a lot. Yeah, especially in comedy. I mean, what we're doing is, it's written, but we're very loose with the script. I mean, we have very confident head writers. You met them, Josh and Darren.
Yeah.
Who, they come from South Park, so they're used to like just really going for it, and they're open to whatever is funny. They don't have that thing of, these are my words and I'm married to them, and you stick to it or you're fired.
That's what I wrote.
Yeah.
You can't change
it. It's my words, man.
I was up last night
These
doing
words
that.
are gold.
Yeah.
You know how long I slaved over this sentence? You say it as it is. They're not like that. So we have fun, and you have to. We play our show as a drama. I mean, we don't play it as a comedy. It's not punchline, setup, funny stuff. It's they're very serious situations that we play them as very serious. They're just ridiculous by nature, and that's what makes it funny.
Did you watch Lost or Oz?
I watched Oz. Yeah, I didn't even bother with Lost. I couldn't do it. But I was a huge Harold Perrineau fan.
Yeah,
Oz.
because those are
Huge.
two pretty iconic shows that he was on.
Dude,
And now he's in your band.
He's had an amazing career, that guy. I mean, if you look at the stuff he did, he was in Romeo and Juliet way back with Leonardo.
And Claire Danes.
Yeah, he was in the Matrix films.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's he's done some good
For
stuff.
me, he's the wheelchair Oz.
I feel the same way.
I loved Oz. It was one of my favorite shows.
Everybody, though, from what I hear, really loves him in Sons of Anarchy, which he's in right now.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing like this season of Sons of Anarchy.
That has a weird, like, underground, crazy cult following.
I've never watched an episode.
I've never seen an episode either.
I don't watch much television, though. I gotta be honest. I watch either sports. I mean, now that basketball's back, I've got NBA TV on most of the day. Or my wife and I watched some of the reality shows. Like, we watched The Voice.
How many Facebook posts are you going to ask for her to promote the show?
I think she'll do one.
One?
Yeah.
One is fair. You could probably convince her to do two.
You know what? I got really lucky. She came and did an episode of the show.
Oh, that's going to help you.
And it's the second episode of the season. And it's really funny. So she's going to help us and promote that. But, it's my wife. I don't want to suck her dry to promote.
She could do two posts.
I think one post
I
should
would
be
ask
fine.
my wife for 2 posts. Although I have to say, my wife was trying to get me to get her Mumford & Sons tickets, and I was just fighting it hard.
Really? Why?
Because I think she likes the Mumford & Sons, like
It's
a
a
little
good
too
band.
much. No, I mean, I think she likes them, though. It bothers me.
Right? Okay.
If it was like the Blues Travelers, I'd be like, sure, honey, I can do that
right,
for
of course.
you.
Right.
See, I'm not threatened
even
by
though he
John
lost
Popper.
weight, he's really weird.
Not threatened by John
there's no
Popper.
threat.
Mumford & Son guys they have that kind of hairy, you don't want to leave them alone with your girlfriend for too long vibe to them.
But
I
now
don't
was
like
she
it.
asking for backstage passes
No.
and like I want to hang out on the tour bus
No,
after?
she was just
I
like,
just want to
I'm-
go to the show and because I love their music.
She was like, do you have any connections for Mumford & Sons?
Why don't you go with her?
I don't want to go to the Mumford & Sons.
Why not?
I'm too old.
What?
Would you go?
What do you mean you're too old?
We're
You're
not in the
too
demo.
old for
It's
music?
like
It's
no,
music.
I know, but it's like isn't it like all girls between the age of 18 and 27 just screaming?
No, what? No.
I don't know. I don't know
They're
what happens.
Good
to
band.
Mumford. No, I know they're a good band.
What do you? It's not like she was asking you for Twilight tickets. I mean, it's not.
Well, that's happened too.
Oh, well, that's something to worry about. If it's like I want the Twilight premiere and I want to be in the row right in front of.
That was for my
right
daughter
for
though.
those
That was
guys.
a little more justifiable.
How old's your
I don't
daughter?
know. I have a 7.5-year-old daughter.
And she's a big Twilight fan?
Yeah.
See, I would never. I'd get her into sports, man. I would never.
That's happened.
I
too.
really want to have a little girl, but she's going to be so into sports. I don't want her to care about guys or the existence.
The problem is Edward the Vampire is a real issue. Once he gets his hooks in a whether you're a little girl or a woman, that's it. You can't fight off Edward the Vampire. And I feel like the Mumford & Sons are the same way.
Really?
Yeah.
They're
Something about those guys.
The Mumford & Sons of teens?
Yeah. They are not going to be invited on a podcast.
That's good for Mumford & Sons.
Yeah, probably.
It's good for them to know
Yeah.
that they're that much of a threat.
I'm a little threatened by that.
Good for them.
The Wedding Band, November 10th.
November
TBS,
10th.
Saturday
TBS,
night, 10
Saturday
o'clock.
nights, 10 o'clock Eastern.
You can easily DVR it.
You can. It's really easy. You just highlight it and click record.
We don't have a network yet for 902 and Old.
It's on SoapNet.
No,
right?
my recreated.
Old.
The comeback show.
No, we'll sell that.
At least talk to Luke Perry about
I
it a little
will.
bit. Just float it by him.
I will. I don't
See
think
if he
he's
has
gonna
any
give a shit,
ideas.
but- although you know what, he did an Old Navy commercial, so he may be up for anything.
Could shoot. Maybe you shoot like an online series. Make it funny.
That wouldn't be
That
too
could
bad.
be pretty good, right? See, now
Are
we're
you
talking.
going to own part of this?
Yeah, I want
If I
to
do
do it
this?
for the Grail Network. We have a whole YouTube channel now.
How about if you don't own some of the show,
I'll do it for free. Yeah, I'll let you own it.
but you get to play a part in it?
I'd like to play Nat's son, Nat Jr.
You want to be Nat Jr.
I want to be Nat Pasiccio Jr., whatever his last name was. Is Nat still alive?
He is Joey Tata.
Yeah, so I'll be
Yeah.
working the Peach Pit, but I might be stealing money.
I saw
might be
James
stealing money.
Eckhouse, who was the dad, the Walsh dad,
Yes.
in Batman. He was in The Dark Knight.
James Eckhart has had an amazing movie cameo career.
He really has.
Do you know he was in Cocktail?
Was he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
When Tom Cruise is in Jamaica, he's like at the bar in Cocktail.
He
was
man.
in Trading Places.
Yeah,
he's in like all
I knew
these
that.
weird, crazy
Yeah.
little follow movies.
He's a good actor, though.
I always liked when they did the in the credits. He was the last guy, and he did the turnaround with the arms folded.
You want to hear
That looks like I'm James.
You want to hear the
Eckhart.
most ridiculous thing is that
Yeah.
what you're doing right now in your chair isn't that far off from what we had to do. It was literally like we had a stool.
Yeah.
We had a rotating stool, and they would
Who's
set
the
up.
best?
They had a backdrop that was painted, and they had a tray in front of it with water and broken mirror pieces. And so there would be one guy whose job it was just to sit down there and slowly make waves he'd just tip the tray a little bit like this. So the backdrop would shimmer.
Really?
Yeah. And then we get our action, and it was just like, okay, so, you're on the stool and just turn. And so you just figure out, like, how you were going to turn into camera as I knock my coffee over. And you would spend 20 minutes just turning. Okay, no, give me one more. And it was the most ridiculous thing ever. But you can use the turn that I just did if you want. In whatever credits you have.
Eckhart used to do that.
Yeah, he did the Knowing Dad. He did the Knowing Dad.
I'm in charge of this whole thing. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Knowing Dad.
It was always funny. I always enjoyed the credits, and they're all online, by the way, and I may have watched them before on YouTube because they're all like you can break them down season by season. But you could tell by the actors' stage where they were with the show.
You can't ever make fun of anybody on any team ever. I mean,
know.
because of 90210 and your love for it.
Listen,
you can't.
I'm not going to apologize.
But you can't talk trash. I mean, you talk about like Kobe, and I don't get it. I mean, Kobe at any day of the week can turn to you and go, dude, you fucking love 90210 and still go on YouTube the credits of that show.
Well, for
Shut
the
up.
turnarounds.
Go yourself.
For the
You can't say anything. Ever. I can't. I mean,
I like when you could tell the person doesn't want to be in the show anymore if they really mail in the turnaround. If it's just kind of like
they're like this and they just keep turning.
Yeah, it's just kind of just can this end? Can I just stop filming this? That's when you know it's over. Like Luke Perry, you can tell it's over in the last credit. Yeah, they're all there. They're broken down.
When he turns around, he's smoking. He's super drunk.
He's looking at his contract, figuring out how many episodes he has left.
He's still initialing. He's initialing line 5. And Aaron Spelling is over his shoulder making sure that he signs. That's his intro credit.
9021 old.
90210 old.
Well, maybe we'll do an online thing.
If nothing else, it's a podcast.
Maybe we'll do an online thing.
That'd be really funny.
Or
it would be fucking horrible.
Off the top of your head, who do you think you could get sight unseen for?
I can get Luke. I can get Jason. I'm sure I can get Jenny. I can get Ian.
That's 5. That's all we need.
I'm not going to do it, but I mean, I can get all of them. And you. And you as Nat Jr.
Maybe your son's not old enough yet.
He's 10.
It could be his first break. You played David Silver Jr.
It's such a horrible break. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
David Silver Jr.?
Yeah, my son was on 90210 old. Did you see?
You started on Knots Landing.
Which is the worst TV name ever. Can I tell you, 90210 was the worst name to promote?
Well, initially it was Beverly Hills 90210, and then somehow it just died.
That was the first one? Beverly Hills was the initial name, and then they went Beverly Hills 90210, and we were like, why would you put a zip code in the name of something?
Yeah.
And by the end, that was all people knew it as, 90210.
I remember there was a famous SNL sketch with I think Priestley was hosting, and the whole sketch was about the zip code. They changed the zip code.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. What do you mean the mail's going to go to 90212? Yeah, it was crazy.
One of them, Dylan started drinking again because of it.
Because of it? Bren, you just don't understand. He broke a plate.
It's more than a zip code. It's my life.
I love that you remember that.
That was one of the best sketches. I don't remember if it was Luke Perry or Jason Priestley who was the host, but it was one of them. Yeah, it was one of them.
It was Jason, and I think Dana Carvey was Luke.
Dana Carvey was amazing as Luke.
Yeah.
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 And I think Phil Hartman was Nat.
I've never hosted SNL, but I got a chance to go and be in during the OJ trials when they were doing that whole run of the OJ trials ones. And who was it? I went and I was a guest of Kato Kalin in the courtroom. I forget who was playing Kato.
Oh wait, you were on. I think I
Yeah.
vaguely remember you were on camera, right?
Yeah, no, I was on camera. It was like Kato was showing up in court and bringing his celebrity friends and like sitting him up in the front row, you know, and it was like they would argue during the day of like who was ordering what pizza, and I mean the
Yeah.
sketches were ridiculous, but that was when the OJ trial was on every single day.
Yeah, it was almost the OJ trial held that show
Yeah.
prisoner for like 5 months because that's
Yeah.
what everybody was talking about.
And they had completely run out of things to write on it, but it was awesome. That
Well,
show-
I'm really psyched that you did a turnaround.
Thanks.
I think we might have to put that on our YouTube channel.
Let's do it.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
I felt good about it.
Eckhouse.
I got caught up on the foot at the bottom, but you can always make something cool out of it, you know.
I can't believe they had to like crinkle glass.
They would. I'll show you one day. If you ever want to do that effect on any of your podcast stuff, you break up little pieces of mirror and you put it in a tub of water, and then you shine a light down on it so the water it reflects up off of the mirror with the water.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Well, how long did you guys have to when they had you all together and you guys all had to like high five and laugh and giggle? How
That
long
was
did that
a 2-hour
last?
process.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds excruciating.
Dude, it was the whole thing was excruciating.
And you're just
By
laughing
the
and
end,
giggling,
it was like, what? Yeah.
high fiving,
Exactly.
pointing at each other.
Do that high five thing. Do that point thing. Okay, you guys walk in and cross each other. Oh, that was so good. Okay, walk in and cross again, but this time, okay, Brian, you walk in front of Luke this time. Okay, now you guys turn around and like slap each other's asses. Like what? You know, it was like just, it was ridiculous.
What are the wedding band's credits?
The wedding band? We didn't
You
even
probably
shoot
didn't have to do
credits.
that. That's
for
good.
It. Yeah, no, it's like a.
It was in your
5
contract.
second-
I'm not doing that.
I'm not
No
pointing
turnarounds.
or smiling
no
at
high
anybody.
fives.
That and throughout the entire season, nobody can look me in the eyes. That was my other thing.
TBS Saturday night, November 10th,
November 10th.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I don't know when my little cameo's on, but it's really not anything to tell your grandkids about.
Well, but you can talk about it again on your podcast when it's coming up.
Yeah, I'll give it a nice plug. Last point before we go. Turns out I was right about Corky Nemec.
I still don't.
3-episode arc.
I think
Financial manager Derek Driscoll. It's pretty sad that I know more about 90210 than the show that you were on. Is there a way I can erase this information from my brain?
There should be. You need
there a
that.
pill I
You
can
need that
take?
thing from Men in Black that was down in the basement that spins around really fast. And
I told you what happened. It was this 3 years of when I had my old website in the mornings when I was like assembling all these links and I would have it on in the background in FX and it like ended up.
But why would you pay such attention to it that you would remember?
But it was like
who
half
in what?
attention. It was just kind of going on in the
Apparently
background.
not.
Apparently not.
You knew that my best friend at the time was on my show, and I didn't know.
Which one? Oh yeah.
Corky. I was best friends with him.
How did you not know he was on the
I'm
show?
telling you, I think IMDb is wrong on it. Because they also say that I did an episode of Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and I didn't. I never did.
Well, according to IMDb, I won the bet. You're going to have to check with him, though. I think I won.
So think you're wrong. I'm going to call him.
All right. Thank you for the time, Mr. Brian Austin Green.
Dude, thank
It was
you
a
so much
pleasure.
for having me.
Worst of luck with the Lakers
Thanks.
this year.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Same to you with the clips, my friend. Same to you.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.